Zzz. Your phone vibrates and the text message comes through. And you immediately notice you start to feel hot, sweaty, and your heart is beating fast. You're feeling anxiety, anger, frustration towards the person on the other end as well as their message. These feelings take over to the point that you are consumed and you hit send impulsively in response. The beliefs and expectations you have are swirling in your mind, and before you know it, you've allowed what you believe to influence how you show up and how you behave in relationships. You see, the stories that you've written and told yourself time and time again have now become your reality. Welcome to Here We Are, the mindful podcast for millennials, where it's all about remembering where we've been, knowing where we're going, and taking up space in the present through the art of storytelling. I'm your host, Teka. I'll tie together the practice of presence, life lessons, and some mental health nuggets too. Whether sharing my own experiences or featuring a special guest, I hope to inspire you to take control of your story and take control of your life. I hope you receive what you need from today's episode, and remember to check the show notes for the links that I reference. Today's episode is all about checking our story, tapping in and mindfully being aware of how the beliefs that we have and the stories that we've told ourselves are influencing how we show up in relationships and in the world. You ready? Let's journey. Throughout the years, I have had various relationships and friendships, acquaintances, and associates. And at one point, I didn't know the difference between those. I thought everyone was a friend, and I believed that friendships should go a certain way, right? I had the belief that, quote, if I do this, then X should happen. Then I'll be accepted. Then the friendship won't fall apart, end quote. How often do you realize that your ideals take over your expectations? Well, I've had to learn that lesson the hard way. You see, there have been a couple of relationships and friendships in the past where the outcome of how I showed up was contingent on the story I was telling myself about those interactions. For example, I don't know if I'm the only one. I know I'm not the only one, but I've had situationships in the past. Those are those romantic relationships in between casually dating and exclusively being in a relationship. Now, situationships are not easy. You go into it initially thinking, all right, I can keep this cool. I can keep this casual. And the story you're telling yourself is that if it's only about the physical, then the emotional won't get involved. Well, lie number one. You are bound to catch emotions. You're bound to catch feelings. And I did. And I accept it. It wasn't something that I regret or feel shame about at all because I'm human and I have a heart and I'm empathetic and I also strongly value emotional connection. So I don't know why I set myself up, right? By trying to be in a situationship. But once I caught feelings is when my beliefs started to really reflect the trauma response of my past to my past hurt. And I believe that, if I was always available, I would be loved, claimed, finally seen and valued. I believe that my acceptance and the opposite of the rejection I feared would occur if I was to prioritize this person over myself or ignore this person's actions and believe the lies or words that they were telling me. It even put me in situations where I was jeopardizing my college education. There are beliefs that can really impact and influence your behavior to the point of risk. And so that's why we have to check in with them. Another example I have is like friendships, right? So it's not always romantic relationships that we want to address, friendships too. The beliefs and expectations we have about friendships, most of the time we can track and trace that thread back to our relationships growing up. Specifically for me, I would say childhood. Um, There were moments where I definitely felt isolated from others, where I felt ignored, dismissed, and invalidated. And that hurt, that pain was for sure traumatic, to the point where I started to have these beliefs that I had to get accepted by any means necessary, doing things I didn't want to do, pouring into others and taking on majority of the responsibility for the friendship, right? Um, and believing that, okay, miraculously I would receive this back, or miraculously I would feel validated and affirmed in who I am and who people believe I am, and that priority to them. I also would hope that someone would need me. My mom would sometimes say that I can be a hoarder sometimes, or a collector of people as well as things. And I realized through therapy and some inner work that I was doing that because I wanted to feel needed. I was like, they'll need me one day, or I also believe that I would need them one day. That was a lie, especially the ones that have outgrown the seasons and reasons for the connection, or those that were one-sided and unhealthy. I didn't have to hold on to them, but I needed something to do. I needed purpose. I needed to feel fulfilled, or avoid to be filled in a certain area of the part of my heart that really longed for connection. I mean, imagine each time you interact with someone based on the beliefs and these stories that you tell yourself, right? Beliefs influence our behaviors and our interactions. And my beliefs put me into situations that caused hurt, emotionally, and pain. And the cycle of those trauma responses continued from when I was a child into adulthood. And I had to really do some healing work to rewrite those stories and those beliefs. And I can tell this story, or these stories, these experiences now without shame, because I recognize that my emotions, my mind, my heart was trying to avoid rejection and get acceptance and validation by any means necessary. I mean, another example of things that I would do, when I say any means, is I would spend money I didn't have. I would go to places I didn't really have interest in going. I would complete favors I didn't have the capacity, honestly, to complete. Or I would even answer the phone, something as simple as answering the phone or a text when I was in need of some solitude for myself, Even to greater lengths, I had missed out even on family events, or had to cut time with people short to prioritize others over those that were most valuable to me, or even myself, I was just completely unmindful. I wasn't tapped into how I was feeling, and I wasn't tapped into how it was affecting me or the other people that I was in relationship with. These stories were running rampant. Okay. The beliefs, the stories, and I'm going to use that interchangeably. The beliefs that I had were just to the point where I needed to change. I needed to make a change. And so that's where I had to check in, tap in with myself, and get more mindful. So let's talk about what it means to be mindful in order to change your beliefs. So I'm going to share with you some information from an article on a website called Thrive Therapy and Counseling. I believe they're a practice, but they have a really great article on their website called How Beliefs and Expectations Influence Our Relationships. And in this article, they give us some insight about how we can recognize and change the patterns of our behaviors that are being influenced by our untrue beliefs or stories that we're telling ourselves. And the first thing they tell us to do is to notice. Notice is one of my favorite words that connects us to mindfulness, because that's what mindfulness is. It is noticing with awareness and non-judgmentalness. So this article is telling us to notice. Notice how you feel before, after, and during your interactions with others. Our feelings are full of information for us and can be signals that something needs our attention. Take a moment to pause and check in with yourself when you interact with certain people and see what types of feelings come up for you. Are you looking forward to this interaction, or are you feeling anxiety and dread? Paying attention to how we feel. It's not just about naming an emotion, but it is also about paying attention to our body. Another form or another characteristic of mindfulness is being aware and observing what is happening externally as well as internally. And so internally is about your body sensations. What's happening? How are you feeling? And so if you're interacting with a friend and you notice that your shoulders get tense, your stomach drops, maybe your heart starts beating faster, paying attention to those and asking yourself with curiosity, what is my body trying to tell me? The second thing you can do is ask yourself, what do I believe is required of me to have this interaction or relationship? Don't worry about how your beliefs may sound. Just be honest with yourself. For example, many of us harbor internalized feelings that we must always accommodate the needs of others in order to be accepted. Our beliefs don't always make sense, but that might be a good indicator that there's something more to explore about why you feel the way you do. And this kind of taps directly on my situation and my story, because my beliefs were telling me this exact thing, that I have to accommodate others in order to be accepted. But the third thing they tell us is to ask ourselves, if I did believe X, or if I didn't believe X, how would it change the way I feel or act? And so using the example from above, if you no longer believed you always had to accommodate the needs of others, how would it change things for you? Would you worry less? Enjoy interactions with others more? Perhaps you would take more time for yourself and be more responsive to your own needs. And so this is part of that healing of the trauma response, right? If I didn't believe X, what would happen? Asking yourself this question is also really helpful because it helps to encourage a growth mindset that there could be other outcomes, and that the outcome to, I won't say the opposite, but the challenge to our belief, the outcome is not disastrous. It encourages us to not catastrophize or try to predict the future with the worst case scenario. But again, remember I said that is trauma's job. Its job is to figure out, how do I protect myself and prove that I'm right, that the worst thing is going to happen, and so I have to protect myself or survive by any means necessary. So that third question is really helpful, and it can be healing for sure. And the last question or tip they give us is, you can begin to make some of these changes now. Just being more aware of relationship dynamics and your beliefs can start to bring about positive changes because you're making more conscious choices about how you interact with others. You can also start to behave as if you had already let go of your old unhealthy beliefs. Devote more of your time and energy to activities that rejuvenate you and relationships in which you experience reciprocal respect, fondness, and care. And I love that one because it doesn't put a lot of pressure on us to change our beliefs overnight or to do them perfectly. It just encourages us that being aware is more than enough of a step to start. That when you know, oh, this relationship dynamic isn't working for me, or yikes, that belief is unhealthy and really jacking up the way I'm behaving, you can change or even just identify what you would rather do or what you would rather believe and behave as if you had already adapted those things. It's all about mindfulness, in my opinion, because without awareness and without being non-judgmental, a lot of this healing, a lot of this growth, a lot of this improvement of ourselves and our relationship with ourselves wouldn't occur because we would be walking around here, quote unquote, blissfully ignorant. Really, I don't think it's bliss because it is jacking up some of our relationships and it's keeping us from being able to really accept, receive, and live in the beauty of healthy relationships, making space and capacity for those healthy relationships. So I hope this was helpful and that you consider mindfully tapping in, being aware of your beliefs and your behaviors, and making a change. It is time for our next segment. If you're new here, it is called GIFT, which is an acronym. The G stands for gratitude or goal. The I stands for intention. The F is for faith or focus. And the T is for take action. So my G, my gratitude, or goal. My gratitude really is that I have the awareness and insight, and I've been practicing the mindfulness that some of the beliefs I've had and may still have are unhealthy and really impacting and influencing the way I'm showing up in the world and in my relationships. So even though it's not always comfortable, I'm grateful for that. My intention is to continue to be mindful without judgment, without self-criticism, which is hard in a world where comparison and this idealized way of being is projected 24/7. So really just being aware and mindful without judgment. That's my intention. My faith is to take it a step further, and really have faith that these unhealthy beliefs no longer serve me, and I will have the relationships and continue to have the friendships that really hold space for new and healthy beliefs to be cultivated, to grow, to be reinforced, and to be practiced. And my take action. My take action is something I'm not going to do alone because you, dear listener, are going to do it with me. The take action is to ask ourselves 2 questions. The first is, how can I be more mindful about the stories I'm telling myself? Again, stories, beliefs, interchangeable, but how can I be more mindful about the beliefs I have, the beliefs I'm telling myself, about others, and about the world? And the second question is, how do I want to change the way I show up or behave in my various relationships? So if after answering the first question, you recognize, this is affecting the way I show up at work, or this is affecting the way I am in my romantic relationship, or this is affecting the way I am with my family or my friends, how do you want to change? Once you identify how you want to make a change, it really opens you up to the possibilities of making those changes and what that journey can look like. And remember, you can adapt the new beliefs and the healthier behaviors as if they are already fully operating and optimal in your life. Because remember, what you believe, you act on. Got it? Thanks for participating in GIFT with me. All right, I have a surprise for you all. This is a new segment called Vibe Tunes ATM. Whoop, whoop. If you read my blog, heyteka.com, there's a cute little segment at the end of each blog piece that I've been doing since I launched the blog in 2016 called Vibe Tunes ATM. And ATM stands for at the moment. And it's really just giving you all a couple songs that I'm vibing to at the moment. If you want to update your playlist, if we have similar taste in music, I thought it would be really cool to share. And so I have one song for us today. Lately, I have been really on Madison Ryan Ward. I don't know if you listen to her, but on TikTok and Instagram Reels, her sound has been going around, whether it's the Go Back, whether it's Anchor. She has another song that I really like that I can't remember right now, but I think it's Prodigal. But the song I'm going to reference today is actually off of her new project called A New Thing. And it was released, I think last week, April 21st. So a week and a half ago, maybe April 21st. The reason this is my vibe, ATM, my vibe at the moment, is because of the lyrics. Lyrics mean so much to me when it comes to music. I feel like lyrics say what I may not have the words to express in the moment. And lyrics also help me to reshape my beliefs, believe it or not. And so in alignment with today's episode, I want to read you some of her lyrics. It says, even broken, I hear the stars singing your praise, calling you out, saying your name. No, it's no doubt God made no mistake. You are chosen for beautiful things. Don't get caught up in comparison. Keep it original like you've been. This is the time to be all you can. Give yourself another hand. Take all the pressures up off your head. Every blessing is heaven sent. You are chosen for beautiful things. And the song is called Chosen, if I didn't already say that. But the reason that resonated with me is because recently my beliefs have been impacting the way I show up as a creative. Comparison, or even feeling like what I'm doing is easily duplicatable, or what I'm doing is not any different than what someone else is doing. Or even feeling like what I'm doing creatively and what I'm coming up with my own, believing that it is not enough. Those beliefs are a direct counter to the truth that I'm chosen for beautiful things, and that I'm creative, and that I don't have to let comparison steal the joy of being able to really operate in my divine creative power. And so, yeah, I just took this beliefs episode to another level based on this track, this vibe tune at the moment. But I wanted to share that with you all. So if you have a chance, check it out. Madison Ryan Ward, her new project is called New Things. And the first track is called Chosen. Thank you so much for listening to Here We Are, the mindful podcast for millennials. Let's connect on Instagram at the Here We Are Pod, Facebook at Here We Are Podcast with Teka, and on YouTube at Here We Are Pod. If you're loving the podcast, I'd be so honored if you go ahead and hit that subscribe button, share it with a friend or family member, rate and leave me a review. Do you want to share your story on a future episode of the podcast? Email me at theherewearepod@gmail.com. Your story can inspire and encourage others. Remember to breathe in the present moment. Take care.